We are going to call our regular March meeting to order here. And so if everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we want to welcome everybody who is either in the room or watching online or who might end up watching after the fact. So thank you for joining us tonight for the regular March meeting. And we will now take a motion for an adoption of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion on tonight's agenda? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll move to item 2.01. That's our superintendent's report, and we'll turn it over to Dr. Buck.
Thank you, President Murdoch, Board of Education, and esteemed guest here today and on the video world. So a couple things I want to celebrate student-wise. Kind of a neat idea is that we had a high school kid become the very first in state history to win a Missouri Hospice Care Award. That was done on March 11th. Actually had somebody who runs a hospice care on the other side of the state send messages immediately saying, hey, one of your high school kids is getting this award. How cool is that? And so it's kind of neat experience, and that's Carter Davis over at North. Congratulations to 6 seniors from Lee Summit High School, Lee Summit North High School, and Lee Summit West High School for being recognized as the Missouri Scholars 100. So that's your 100 top graduates in the entire state. So congratulations to Cara, Quinn, Fiona, Morgan, Kyle, and Austin. Just kind of give you a heads up on how cool it is to have 6 out of the 100 as the lead in the entire metro area and second in the entire state for a number of kids from one district. So congratulations to those 6, and congratulations to our high schools for all the work they do. Also, congratulations to Summit Squared BattleBots. It's a team from STA that includes Lee Summit kids and kids from surrounding districts, winning a $1,000 national award for robotics design through the National Robotics League and MasterCam. And then last on the student performance-wise, going back over to North across the parking lot there, our very own Daniel Worth this last weekend, he qualified for the Olympic trials in the 100-meter breaststroke. So doing it every day, you have a high school kid qualify for the Olympic trials. So congratulations to Daniel. In the facilities areas, you can check out our bond website, LSR7.org/bond, and see the latest information. All the projects we've bid out so far have been under budget, and we're pretty excited about that. I'll add a little bit just to the regular budget. We are currently in the positive for the year, even if we take out federal stimulus dollars. So thank you to everyone in this room and also throughout the buildings who have done their job of tightening the budget when we had some big unknowns. And we look like we're going to finish the year pretty well this year. So thank you for that. Parent community involvement. I just want to say that we have while construction progress continues on the side of a new 4th middle school, we have a lot of different teams starting. If you're interested in learning more about those, please reach out. Dr. Andrews is leading an instructional piece, if you will. We still have applications out, I believe, for the boundary team that Dr. Miller is leading. And we also have a naming, mascot, and color choice that Katie Bergen is leading. So if you're interested in participating in those or learning more about those, and we're going to talk a little bit about those in our next work session on Thursday, April 8th here in this room. Governance-wise, just let you know that 2 days from now, we'll have our first Jackson County Health Department partnership with us to do vaccines. That'll be the Pfizer vaccine, so we'll have staff from here, as well as partnership with 2 of our smaller local districts, being Lone Jack, a public school, and St. Michael's, a private school. We're going to come join us with that, as well as Kelly Services. And then, obviously, we have a lot of employees, so we couldn't fit them all in with Jackson County's Health Department, so we'll have one next Thursday with Truman Medical Center. So I want to thank both those partners, but I also want to thank Lee Summit Medical Center and Children's who reached out and were also willing to partner with us. So it was very nice to have so many people reaching out wanting to help. And thank you to all the staff that are going to work on Saturday at this volunteer clinic. So our health department does it. They do a training of our staff, and they have bare bones staff then, and we do it. So our nurses and our clerical will be running the event. So thank you to all those who will be participating. That's all I have, President Murdoch.
I like the upgrade. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Buck. We are going to move on. We don't have any presentations or recognitions tonight, so we'll move on to item 4.01, which is our public comments. And as with the last meeting, we will have an audio clip that is submitted as well, but it does fit within the 3-minute time frame that is required of speakers. But I will let Board Member Fritchie announce those. Is Ryan Nonamaker here? Because if not, I'm not going to, we would end up playing the comments. Okay. Do you want us to read the comments then? I don't think we need to then at that point. Okay, so we do have one public comment then. It will be from April Smith, and she submitted an audio for public comment that we can play right now.
Good evening, Dr. Buck and fellow board members. My name is April Smith, and I have a 7th grader at Summit Lakes Middle School. I am speaking as her advocate this evening. Over 2 years ago, our district approved a comprehensive equity plan to address the needs of our diverse school community. The approval of this plan was a bold statement to many families that our schools are committed to the belonging, achievement, and success of each young person. The approval of the equity plan was and still is exciting news, especially for those who have felt marginalized. If you have been marginalized because of your race, gender identity, sexual orientation, or physical ability, this equity plan is your voice. If our students are willing to work hard and strive for progress despite these challenges, this equity plan is their voice. I've watched our district embrace the growing diversity of our community. We have to continue to eliminate practices that perpetuate the disparities among our students, because we already know that these disparities are unacceptable and are directly at odds with the board's mission. For over a year now, I've served as a representative of the Equity Task Force for the Suburban Balance organization. If you don't know, Suburban Balance is an organization that represents nearly 400 families in Lee Summit and across the region. Recently, our task force discussed a Facebook meme made by a leader of the Lee Summit LSR7 Business Community Roundtable Steering Committee. I'm sure you've all seen it, and I won't repeat the statement, but it was very disheartening and really a step in the wrong direction. We are seeking progress and leadership that will foster universal values, not small-minded views that only further divide us. Allowing these toxic views without consequence will only serve as a distraction and will hamper effective progress on diversity, equity, and inclusion in Lee Summit. What we do support at Suburban Balance is the Lee Summit Commission for Diversity and Inclusion. This is a step forward, a step to engage, a step to collaborate with our families and our students, and a step toward ownership for an effective and equitable governance. Thank you for listening.
Okay, that public comment, our only public comment, that was from April Smith. We are going to move on to item 5.01, which is our board reports or meetings attended. And so this is where each board member will kind of give a quick recap of any meetings that they have been representing the district at over the course of the last month. And we typically kind of go all over the place in who we are going to call on. So I'm actually going to start with Dr. Hedrick tonight.
The only meeting that I had since our last board meeting was our finance committee, and we will be giving that report here shortly.
Thank you, Dr. Hedrick. We will go to Board Member Marshall.
Thank you. The last meeting that I attended along with Board Member Allen was the government relations meeting. That was on February 26th. And this meeting actually was given not too long after the Senate Bill 55 and House Bill 349 had proceeded. So it was mostly, the beginning of the meeting was mostly the legislators, I guess, defending, if you will, their positions. And then, of course, followed up by Dr. Buck, who gave an extremely comprehensive presentation on why supporting public schools and opposing that specific legislation. It just makes sense fiscally. Just as a reminder, in order to stay, I guess, abreast of what's going on, from the Missouri School Board Association's website, they have the Advocate for Public Education portal, if you will, that you can click on, and it gives you a rundown of all legislation that is impacting public schools, and it gives you a really kind of a wave top, and you can dive deeper into it if you want to, but it gives you a wave top of how it impacts public schools and gives you the information to contact your specific legislators to engage with them on how you feel about it. At the city council level, things happening in District 2, there was an update about the prior road improvements, and that anticipation of that construction is to begin about September 2023, they're anticipating. But right now, they are preparing to start community engagement about midsummer, this summer, 2021. So just keep checking the city's website to provide any input and kind of see what's going on as prior road starts to become improved.
Thank you very much, Board Member Marshall. Board Member Allen?
I attended that same government relations committee meeting with Ms. Marshall, and we also heard at a national level from the U.S. Chamber some legislative updates that was very distilling and very entertaining, kind of a behind the scenes of what's happening at the national level, and some comments actually that there's some reach across the aisle, a lot more collaboration, discussion. There's some differences in the short run here. I've had the opportunity to tour some school buildings like many of the other members of the board. Megan and I went to Lee Summit North High School on March 4th. Dr. Meisenheimer was terrific in our tour and found it to be much just a positive environment, kids moving, not a lot of just congestion in the halls, kids doing what they do well, teachers doing what they do very well. I've been to Trail Ridge Elementary, Summit Point, Summit Lakes, in Miller Park in February. I don't know if I noted that last month. And then Lee Summit North High School on the 4th, Bernard Campbell Middle School on the 8th, Underwood and Hazel Grove. So on March 15th, actually, with you, President Murdoch, and some very common themes, and we're listening and talking about those common themes and discussions. And I think to each person that we met, each one said, we are glad the kids are back. And we're motivated by the kids, and the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing and wearing masks and distancing as best we can and understanding that, that we're all in this together and have been. Tuesday, March 2nd, I was able to attend the event at MIC where Governor Mike Parson, participated in that virtual education experience, put the VR on and the goggles and sat in a classroom. I think it was located in Italy or something. I'm not quite sure, but it was pretty interesting. And he spoke about the cutting edge technology that really they were delivering through STA, MIC, just a unique experience over there in partnership with University of Central Missouri, and then with Ms. Doan. March 4th was Team Lee Summit, and we're having our next meeting April 8th. And I think Julie would agree, we meticulously discussed in detail and in direct terms this year's employee survey and many, many common themes there. And of course, we talked about benefits, salaries, overall compensation of the package, and on April 8th, we'll distill sort of the recommendations to leadership. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Board Member Allen. Board Member Doan?
I do agree, Mike. That was, Team Lee Summit's really a well-oiled machine, I believe. And for those that don't know, it is a collaboration between all our staff across the district. And it's just very, I guess, neat to be a part of and get to spend the day with them. But we will have a proposal, and I think Dr. Miller will present that to the board that we're excited about from Team Lee Summit. Lee Summit Cares, we had I think, a dozen great candidates for the director position. So that's really exciting, and we'll narrow that down in the coming weeks. So fun times ahead. Just somebody new and maybe a new idea. I think that's awesome. Next week is National Drug and Alcohol Facts Week. So you might want to Google that and see if we can learn something. And then, yeah, it was fun. It's always fun to see the governor in Lee Summit, not just Lee Summit, but one of our schools. And he loves that there. I think he actually just loves Lee Summit. He's a very down-to-earth guy. And I think it's really cool when he comes and he sees what we're doing there. So, and you see him, of course, which is my alma mater too. So give them a plug. Went to Greenwood Elementary School for a visit all by myself. I didn't have a bodyguard. So a little Greenwood Elementary, they're doing everything they can. And the principal over there is just excited to be there. And I just see the excitement of the kids. Except for one great niece was really excited to see me. The other one turned her head, so I don't know, she's fifth grader or so, or fourth grader. But just a cute school and a lot of good stuff going on there. And that is it for this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Board Member Doan. I don't know if we'll have her or not. Board Member Campbell? Okay. Oh, there she is.
I am here. Thank you, Board President Murdoch. I had Vice Board Member Hedrick attended our Finance Committee. I do have a couple of upcoming meetings that I'll report on in our next board meeting with the Policy Committee as well as with the Insurance Committee. I had the great opportunity and honor to also do some school visits and loved every minute of it. I visited PLMS, I visited Summit Ridge Academy, and
And we have lost Board Member Campbell.
Sounds like it.
Okay. Well, if she gets here in 30 seconds, then we will have her finish up her committee report. Board Member Fritchie?
Thank you, President Murdoch. First, I'd like to talk about the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan Committee. I attended that meeting on March 1st via Zoom. We met, all of our meetings were via Zoom, and they were very productive, very productive. Great cross-section, I've said this before, of our community and our school district, and I really love that. At this particular meeting, we reviewed some possible presentation formats for the CLIMB visual. We have acronyms for everything. So this acronym is CLIMB, C-L-I-M-B, and you will, when they do the presentation, you'll figure out why. But we looked at the elements of that and talked about what we liked, what we didn't like, what we thought the public would easily be able to digest, etc. And I want to thank our PR department, our graphics folks in there for helping with that. I do have the definition of CLIMB. Here it is. CLIMB represents career, leadership, instruction, mental wellness, and belonging. CLIMB. And the committee also reviewed and provided feedback on the first draft of the strategic plan for the years 2021 through 2024. So more of that to come later. But as of now, then, our committee basically is done with its work, and it's in the hands of Dr. Kephart and our administration in fleshing out the rest of the plan. So thank you very, very much. Okay, next I want to talk about Lee Summit Educational Foundation, which has had a very busy month. The foundation awarded its second round of document cameras to 46 teachers this week. And combined with the first round of document camera awards in January, this foundation gift of about $10,000 is helping nearly 100 of our teachers across this district. And the teachers are thrilled, and the foundation is happy to help. Then, of course, the biggie this month was the 22nd annual Taste of Lee Summit. That was held virtually this past Saturday. It's the first time we've ever had to, of course, hold it virtually. But thanks to all who participated and helped raise approximately $60,000 to help our students. A special thanks to Dr. Buck for providing the most popular live auction item, which he gladly doubled, he and his beautiful wife gladly doubled. They were offering a pony party. And he then decided, because it got bid so high, they offered another one, and they got the same amount bid on that one. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. I'd love to see that pony party. If people did not have an opportunity to give last Saturday and you missed it, or you forgot about it, the Fund a Cause link is still open for the auction website, and gifts will help match a $25,000 challenge gift from Bud and Betty Herzog. So I just want to thank the many businesses in our community who donated items and offered discounts, to all of our volunteers and the committee who began work several months ago, who rounded up auction items and provided deliveries and so many other things, and especially to our Lee Summit Educational Foundation Executive Director, Cheryl Franke, and the staff members of LSEF who planned and carried out each and every one of those details. It was huge. Finally, I would also like to mention a few school visits during the past few weeks. I had the opportunity and pleasure of visiting Lee Summit West High School. And, you know, it's funny, the things you learn from the pandemic. As I was standing in the front hallway during passing period, talking with Dr. Herzog, he said, I want to point out that we now have up staircases and down staircases. He said, but even after the pandemic's over, I think we're going to keep it that way, because it's eliminated the traffic jam in that center hallway. So it's funny, you know, we might think it's all negative, but you can learn several good things that come out of adversity. I learned some other wonderful things from Lee Summit Elementary and Westview Elementary in those visits. And I got to see firsthand some of those changes that have been necessitated in our schools. Watching teachers collaborate, the online teachers, putting them together sometimes in classrooms and collaborating and providing actually some great learning opportunities for their kids. And in each case, it was abundantly clear to me, one thing, that teachers, principals, and staff are the heroes who are working their hardest and giving their best to help our students succeed. Just a great big thank you to all of them.
Thank you, Board Member Fritchie. Just a few things from me. We had our monthly board leadership meeting on March 3rd. And we were able to have some good, productive discussion from that. I also had school visits as well. I went to Lee Summit High School on March the 1st, which was nice to go back into the building and remember going there for debate tournaments when I was in high school. So I'd been in there a few times previously, but that's kind of what I was remembering when I was going through the hallways there and stuff like that. So thank you to Principal Harrison for taking me around Lee Summit High School, and to the numerous teachers who allowed us to step into their rooms. I sincerely appreciate it. As we visited all throughout Lee Summit High School. And with the construction going on there, it's cool just to know what it's going to end up looking like. I think that's, you can walk around right now, Lee Summit High School, and you can, knowing what the drawings look like, you get to actually see and kind of start to envision what that's going to look like, especially as the breezeway gets a complete makeover. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I think that's going to be great. On March the 5th, then, I visited Prairie View Elementary School and had a wonderful visit there, going through the double elementary school there, and especially liked stopping into the kindergarten rooms, who they were very excited to see us, and they had no idea who we were. So that's good too. But very excited to have people in the room, and so that was a really, really good visit there. Dr. Buck, Dr. Miller, and I then visited Hilltop School later that afternoon to talk through some of the facilities and programs that they have going there. And it was a wonderful visit with Andre, and just it was a wonderful visit. I would love to give lots of other words about it, but it was really, really a good visit that we got to have to Hilltop, and it has spurred, and this is where I am taking a little time, so I apologize, but it has spurred some letter writing and some advocation from LSR7 to our county to get some very much needed improvements that facility needs, and I think we're making headway. And so I think that, the more that we're able to, even as a board, as a community, continue to look at that facility and advocate on its behalf, the better chance that we're going to have to get some much needed improvements that facility really does need as they do some really important and fantastic work there at Hilltop. And then, like Board Member Allen said, we visited Hazel Grove and Underwood earlier this week and had really, really good visits there as well. So thank you to both principals and staff who led us around those buildings. And again, you see staff doing what they do best, and it was really, really good to get to see the kids in the building. And that, Dr. Buck, I think is probably the sentiment that most people have continued to have, and I agree with the other board members where, the general consensus is that we're awfully happy to have the students there. Doesn't mean that there aren't still concerns, doesn't mean that there's not things that we need to keep getting better at, but very, very happy to have the students there. A lot of us, I think, will be attending the LSR7 Legislative Forum that is tomorrow morning, and I just wanted to say a quick thank you to Katie Bergen for putting that together in the morning. So I look forward to meeting with those legislators who have agreed to join us in the morning. So we will be on a Zoom call with, I think, 4 different legislators who will be with us tomorrow morning. So look forward to doing that as well. So it was a good month. Board Member Campbell, I'm going to put you on the spot right as you sit down. If you would like to continue your report, since you cut out right as you were talking about your school visits, if you would like to finish your report.
Thank you so much.
All right.
That's awesome.
It's all you.
I did want to say, I just really appreciated, so I went to Pleasantly Middle School, I went to Summit Ridge Academy, I went to Highland Park and Richardson, and I just wanted to say thank you to the teachers there, to the administrators there. Those visits are so great to actually see all the COVID work and measures that have been done, all the hard work everybody's been doing through COVID, but also the passion and the energy and all the work of learning and education that goes on along with all of that. And so that continues, and it was exciting to have those conversations and understand what's going on in the building. So thank you so much to all 4 of them and all their teachers and everybody else. So really appreciated that. Thank you.
No problem. Board Member Allen, did you want to add something here? real quick before we-
I do, just quickly, because all these school visits sparked my thought about having 8th grader moving into freshman year at Lisa West, and certainly the student may have some butterflies, but parents do too, and I'm close enough to it and yet detached that I really enjoyed the discussions with the educators and teachers, and really the first introduction to as much as being virtual was with April Marquez, who's, I believe, a counselor over there, and I got hats off to her specifically because she was bombarded with questions, but deflected them, answered them fully, and just kept moving forward and got everybody engaged, and all virtual, and so what used to be face-to-face, I think she just tackled without even a breath and just moved everybody forward as great as possible. So not that everybody didn't, but she was sort of the first introduction at that level, and I really appreciated how she put my wife and I at ease, and then I think all the other parents that were on that virtual call the same way. So hats off to her specifically. It was awesome.
Thanks for adding that. We're going to move on to item 6.01, which is our Finance Committee report. And Board Member Campbell, do you want Board Member Hedrick to do that, or are you?
I'm okay.
I don't know. I didn't get word which one of you would like to do the Finance Committee, so.
I'll be glad to do it.
Okay. It's on you.
All right. So we have a number of items to talk through. Actually, maybe it would be better if we have Board Member Hedrick do that.
Hey,
That
Dr.
way-
Hedrick, can you do our Finance Committee report, please?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. We did have a meeting yesterday, and our first order of business was to review a number of contracts. including the list of contracts that are $15,000 and less. The next contract we talked about was for a company, the Power School, to do an upgrade to Business Plus. They actually own Business Plus, which is the district's finance, payroll, HR, and warehouse management system. The current version of that software that the district is using, the maintenance, it will no longer be supported by Power School maintenance as of November of 21. And so an upgrade is needed. And we have to actually contract with Power School to do that upgrade, where in the past we've done that ourselves. They will not allow us to do that any longer. So that's what that contract is to address. We also talked about the TransFinder, which is software used by our transportation department. And they will actually be moving that to a hosted service, which is designed really to provide better support and really take some of the burden of maintenance and support, and when there's problems with the software, off of our staff and onto TransFinder. We had our purchasing department talk to us about the contract for beverage and snack services. And that department has completed an RFP for a consolidated contract for a company to address both our beverage and snacks in the district and vending services. And they did a very thorough evaluation and had a full team, including members from our number of departments, to evaluate that contract. And they're making a recommendation to award that to Allied Refreshment Services. Krista Battaglia also talked to us about the copier paper cooperative bid that's done in conjunction with the Greater Suburban Kansas City Joint Purchasing Cooperative, which allows for better pricing for the people who participate, for the districts that participate in that cooperative. And so we'll be utilizing that to buy paper for all of our needs in the district for this next fiscal year. We moved on then to a number of facility related items, including a review of the bond expenditure report. We also had talked in detail regarding the Cass County Coatings, which is an annual on-call painting service the district utilizes to do most of the painting during the summer. And so that's being recommended for approval as well. We also have contracts for Daikin Thermal Mechanics for 2 projects in the district. One is at Bernard Campbell Middle School to replace an air-cooled chiller that has failed and needs to be replaced. The other is a contract for air conditioning and heating system for Lee Summit High School in the wood and metal working shop area. That part of the building is not being impacted by any bond resources. And we had discovered that part of the building is about the only part of building in the district that does not have air conditioning. So we're asking the board will be looking at this to approve in order to provide both heating and air conditioning in that space at Lee Summit High School. Then the last item from facilities was a contract for servers in the server room at Stansbury Leadership Center and Lee Summit West to replace HVAC air cooling systems that are currently failing. And they're asking that the board approve this innovative technology solutions to provide those replacements for those systems. With that, we also talked through our finance reports, the transfer that's normally needed, the investments for the month through the month of February total $150.7 million. We reviewed the revenue and expense report. The current fund balance for February is sitting at about 44.69%. Lori Dinella also gave the group a update on a review that she's been working on of the nutrition services budget and areas where they can really try to manage expenditures through the end of the year, knowing that their current fund balance is in the negative. So we're really pleased with all the work that she's done and their continued efforts to make sure that they try to present a much, try to reduce that negative fund balance and try to get closer to a break-even revenue and expense report. We also reviewed the compensation package that was recommended to Dr. Buck from Team Lee Summit. And then we also reviewed the new personnel requests. Both of those two items are also on our agenda for this evening. So with that, unless there's any questions, I'll stop for a second. No questions?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay, I will move to approve the transfer of $3,320,529.27 from the general fund to the special revenue fund.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for item 6.02 to move funds from general fund to the special revenue fund. Is there any discussion on this particular item? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And then I'll also make the motion to approve the treasurer's report and payment of the bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 6.03 to pay the bills. Any discussion on paying the bills? No? Really? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Hedrick. Appreciate it. We are going to move on here to our consent agenda, and so I will take a motion on our consent agenda items for tonight.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda, which is 7.01 through 7.16. Are there any questions or comments related to the items within our consent agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Mike's computer was opposed. The motion carries unanimously. Oh, sorry. I think I accused the wrong person. It was actually Kathy. I'm sorry about that. I was just, right. No worries. All right, we're going to move on to item 8. These are our individual items for decision for tonight. And so we'll go with 8.01, which is our Allied Refreshment Services, which we just heard about in the finance report. So we'll take a motion on that item, please.
I move that the board approve Allied Refreshment Services for beverage and snack services district-wide for a 5-year contract as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 8.01, the Allied Refreshment Services contract. We're open for questions and discussion. Board Member Campbell.
I'd just like to highlight, and I really appreciated during the Finance Committee that it was shared how many people had been engaged as a part of the group to really review this and participate. And so it wasn't just purchasing, making a decision. Really appreciate that you took the time to pull in additional people and gather information and feedback. And so thank you for that, because I think that leads then to these better decisions that bring forward to us. So thank you.
Appreciate that comment. Any other comments on 8.01? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Did we get Dr. Hedrick?
I think she said yes.
Okay. We'll move on to item 8.02. This is the compensation package being recommended by Team Lee Summit that we heard about, that we're going to hear about by Dr. Miller. So we will turn it over to Dr. Miller to introduce this item.
Thank you and good evening. And I appreciate the comments from Board Member Doan and Board Member Allen regarding Team Lee Summit. They've done fantastic work in a year of unpredictability. As always, they're the shining star of collaboration. It's a representative group of support staff, teachers, and administrators that really dig in and look at compensation issues as well as quality work-life issues. And that team has for a long time been facilitated by Mr. Dan Fenn. He transitioned off. And as you're aware, Dr. Judy Sklerstein co-facilitates with Dr. Deborah Dulcem. So coming before you tonight is a recommendation for step movement for all employees on the salary schedule. Administratively, we have also made one adjustment for any employees that are below the minimum wage. We've made that adjustment effective July 1, moving those particular steps to $11.15 an hour. The total compensation package is approximately $4.1 million, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Okay, so we have item 8.02, the compensation package. I think here, if you have, we'll take a motion on the item, and then if we have any questions for Dr. Miller or comments, we can do that. But I would like a motion on 8.02.
I move that the board approve the compensation package for the 21-22 school year.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 8.02. Is there any questions or comments for Dr. Miller? Board Member Allen?
Dr. Miller, I just would like for you to possibly expand on some detail as to how we arrived at that number. And you don't have to go back to last fall on how we got to where we are, but you're certainly describing the group as a collaborative, open, direct, grinding it through sometimes in a very respectful, disagreeable way, with dignity and respect. If you would expand, if you might.
Yes, I think that team has a unique ability to be very honest and candid in a very professional manner. And so, it's no secret that we've wrestled with compensation concerns in the past. And that's something that's addressed openly in that group. And how do we move forward? I think that particular group has made a commitment towards step movement. They feel moving forward that that's the appropriate approach. And so that's really where we started the process, as well as we had several in-depth discussions on problem solving regarding some of the concerns that this board has heard previously.
Board Member Hedrick?
Oh, yes, thank you. I just wanted to mention that I do support this item, except that I am not supportive of changing the hourly schedule to account for the minimum wage, which really technically doesn't have to be done until January 1 of 22. I do not support putting that in place as of 7/1, because there is some cost to that. I think from information we've received, there's about $27,000 extra cost to doing that. And I think we ought to be saving money where we can.
Board Member Hedrick's correct on that dollar amount that we shared with the board.
Thank you for the comment, Board Member Hedrick. Anyone else have a comment or question regarding item 8.02? Okay. At this time, then, we will go ahead and vote on 8.02. All those in favor of this item, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? This motion carries unanimously. Item 8. And thank you, Dr. Miller. Appreciate it. Item 8.03. This is our item on the Equal Opportunities Schools renewal. And I know we have a couple of people here that are going to present on behalf of this item. We have Dr. Jeff Meisenheimer from Lee Summit North High School, and I believe Dr. Andrews will also be a part of this presentation.
To share a little bit about how our high schools are using equal opportunity schools. we started using this, it was 5 or 6 years ago. John Falkenberry and I went down to our state conference, saw a presentation by Dr. Belcher, who was the superintendent at Columbia Schools, and before that Kearney, and was working for Equal Opportunity Schools. And we saw this as a great opportunity for us to really increase the number of students that are taking IB classes and give us some good data on our underrepresented kids that we're missing in taking IB classes and closing that opportunity gap. So not the achievement gap, but the opportunity gap, and getting kids into classes, appropriate classes that maybe they weren't taking before. So instead of sharing a lot of data with you this evening, I just want to talk about the process and what we do in the buildings. So in the fall, we have our students take a survey. It's about a 30-minute survey that they take during their mentoring class, and provides us a lot of really good data. That we do that in November-ish. And then our teachers do recommendations. And so I've put up here a student profile sheet, and some of our faculty refer to this as our student baseball card. You see I've put a little piece of wood there over the kid's face there, just kind of black that out, and the kid's name there. But this card is a compilation of the survey, the recommendations, and then we pull from Power School and get grade point average, tests that the kids have taken. And so it just compiles this all into this one scorecard, baseball card that we use. And the really cool thing about this is it gives us a lot of data. And you'll see on this, you've got like trusted adults. You've got study skills support, and they're listing teachers. And they've got reported barriers to taking IB or AP classes, which provides us a lot of really good information on where we can do better as a school. How do we break down those barriers and getting our underrepresented kids into these classes? And then, of course, there's a place there for comments. But we use this during enrollment conference. And Mike Allen talked about going to this virtual enrollment conference just in the last week or so. Made it a little bit more difficult to do the equal opportunity schools and the profile sheet, but we were still able to use this data to focus on the number of kids that are enrolled in our IB classes or actually have requested our IB and AP classes. And so I'm going to go down. I put a couple of those profile sheets in there, but I'm going to go down and show you this. This is what we get after the enrollment conferences. This is some of the data that we get. And so what this breaks down for us is by race and by income, the percentage of kids that are enrolling in our AP and IB courses. And from that, EOS, or Equal Opportunity Schools, gives us the target participation rate. And so from this, we can see that we need to do a better job at Lee Summit North of targeting our low-income students. If you look at that, we definitely have an opportunity gap across the board with all 5 races there. And so if we clicked on those numbers, we could get the names of those kids that EOS is saying, based off of their student profile sheet, would be good candidates for AP and IB courses. And so then we use that, and our counselors have conversations with these kids. Our advisors have conversations with these kids. We share this with the person that they said is their trusted adult. And so in some of our schools, I know Lee Summit High School in the past has shared that with coaches as well, to really have those conversations with kids and trying to get them, encourage them to take more rigorous courses. We also put together a team that goes through each one of these kids that EOS has identified that should be taking these upper level courses that we didn't catch. We didn't get them in there. Because what we have found is some of the kids are really taking a rigorous schedule without taking AP and IB. And so they may be in college credit English. They may be in college algebra. They may be going to STA. anatomy, those types of courses. And those aren't the kinds of kids that we're really targeting. They're already pushing themselves. So we're looking at the kids that really need the encouragement, and maybe they're not getting that at home, or maybe they don't feel like they belong in an AP or IB course. And this is really dynamic data that we get that really helps us to identify and target and have those conversations and push kids. And so here is an example, and I didn't include the names, but if we were looking on the website, the OS website, you'd see a bunch of names underneath there. And so it just gives us a list of all the kids that we need to have these conversations with. It also tells us the trusted adults, and I've got this listed by teacher, and you can see in the total column how many students have identified a teacher as a trusted adult. We can also look at this from the student perspective and see which kids have not identified a trusted adult. And so we need to do a better job of creating that sense of belonging, that sense of community with those kids. So after we do the enrollment conferences, after we have had these conversations with our kids and really have those targeted kids push them, or at least encourage them to take some IB, AP, or even more just rigorous courses, over the summer, we have our IB teachers come together, and they go through this data, and they start looking at what the barriers were. What did the kids say are barriers to taking AP and IB courses? And how can we change what we do in the classroom to remove those barriers so that kids are more encouraged to take the classes? Then in August, we bring in our first-time IB and AP students. We invite them in, feed them pizza, have about a 2 to 3 hour meeting with them, really just to get them comfortable and help them to feel that they're going to be successful in these courses, right? And we even have some parents that attend these, which is really cool. And then the last thing that I would say that we do that I think is very impactful and something that we didn't do before we started, at least not that I'm aware of, we didn't do before we started the Equal Opportunity Schools, is we then have our counselors look at our class rosters. And so in those upper level classes, if I'm an underrepresented kid and I walk in there and I don't see anybody that looks like me, I'm not gonna feel like I belong. And so maybe we can do some schedule adjustments before those schedules go out so that we've got classes where if I'm a first-time IB student and I'm walking into a class, I'm going to see somebody that looks like me. So that's kind of our process with EOS. A lot of good stuff with it, and happy to field any questions.
Thank you for sharing that process. I appreciate it. Board Member Doan?
Everything you said was just right on target. The kids that don't identify with that trusted adult, did you mention how you're going to find one, or are you going to go through their class schedule?
What we do is we have our counselors speak
Okay.
with those kids and talk about, and sometimes they just don't put them down there. They just don't put a trusted adult, and when we get them in there, the kid says, "Oh yeah, I've got these trusted adults," and they just didn't. But if they don't have a trusted adult, if they don't have that sense of community, that sense of belonging, then we do have those conversations with our teachers. That this is a kid that's going to need some special attention and really need to try to build a relationship with them.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. I'm sure your names come up on every single one of those kids.
Julie, my own kids didn't put me down as a trusted adult.
She's
I had to have a conversation at home about
pretty smart,
that.
I know that.
This is why board meetings are great right here. Board Member Allen?
Thank you. Dr. Meisenheimer, I remember a couple of years ago, we sat in your office and you showed me some of these numbers from that time, and you had drive, energy, and passion about that then. you do now. And one of the things that resonated at the time was that you had mentioned the fact that you can utilize this to be so much more proactive and reach kids individually that you could not before. So, hats off to you. And you'd mentioned Dr. Sharp as well. And I know, Dr. Herzog uses this, and, and I'm sure the other high school, Carrie, and outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Campbell.
Thank you for this presentation, and I appreciate, we talk so much about where we have gaps and what we need to do to close them, and data-driven decision-making. And what you've shared tonight is definitely the data that helps all of us be proactive in changing and getting kids engaged and enrolled in these classes. Because we know with the AP classes, with the IB classes, kids are going to be more successful not only in high school with these more challenging courses, but definitely at the college level, because they've had this rigor in the high school years. Is that a true statement?
Absolutely, yes. The AP and the IB are really getting kids, they're pretty much college level classes, so it's introducing them to that rigor.
Great. Thank you very much.
Board Member Marshall.
Thank you. I have a few quick questions. I know you didn't want to talk about the data too much, but at some point, can we see the data that shows over the past 6 years the participation rate from the beginning to now, just to see how the program has grown? I'd be curious to see how many more kids participate as the years go on. And another question, on the students' baseball cards, the icon next to staff advocates, what does that apple mean? Is that an individual, or does it represent?
So that's the recommendation. So that means two teachers, the 10th grader that I've got pulled up here, that means two teachers had recommended that student for some advanced placement classes.
Okay. Now on the one, and this other question came up as you were giving the presentation, the one student who has the one apple for a staff advocate, the student mentions under the comments that I've always struggled in reading and comprehension. So that provoked an inquiry in me, just reading that with, while this is an excellent program in the high school levels, what are we doing to capture those kids, those students, before they come into high school so that they can begin to think about these advanced placement classes or advanced interest classes before they even enter into 9th grade? So middle school, or even as far back as elementary, what type of things are we doing to introduce them?
Right, so we do have the advanced classes down at middle school, but unfortunately, and we've asked for this since after the first year, for Equal Opportunity Schools to allow us to survey our middle school students, and that's just not something that they do. But I do think if we had that ability, we could probably capture more kids and not have to do so much at the high school level of getting kids pushed into those classes. But I can tell you that all 3 high school principals talk to the 8th grade parents on our orientation night about the importance of enrolling in those challenging classes and taking at least one rigorous course and pushing yourself. But you did bring up something that I forgot to mention, though, that comment section. So the reported barriers and the learning mindset, that's something the kids just select. That's already in the EOS. But the comments, they're typing those in. And so that's a pretty tedious task. We assign our counselors and administrators to go through all of those comments to pull out things like this so that we're not missing. Because if we're going to ask kids to take a 30-minute survey and they're going to give us comments, then we owe it to them to go and read their comments and try to help where we can. And so, I mean, we'll end up with, 20,000 comments because many of them write lots of different comments. Not that we have 20,000 kids, but they do write multiple comments, and so it takes a while to go through there, but we do go through all those comments.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Fritchie.
Yes, just wanted to say, 4 years ago when I came and visited Lee Summit North my first year on the board, And I sat in your office and you led me through this. I was so impressed at the time. And I was so happy that our school district, even that many, years ago, more than 4, that we embarked on using equal opportunity schools. And so when it came to seeing this renewal listed on our board agenda, I asked to have it moved to items for decision because I wanted one of our principals to come and do exactly what Dr. Meisenheimer has done today, and that's to explain to us exactly what it's all about, because I don't think that a lot of people truly understand the scope of what all the high schools are doing to try to help our kids and identify the ones to challenge those and to give them that extra push to get to that level, to encourage them to succeed and do something they haven't tried to do before. So all that to be said, it's just thank you very much. I know you're just representing your other cohorts in the other high schools, but thank you, Dr. Andrews. Please give our thanks to all of the principals and all the counselors and all the teachers who make this work for us. Thank you.
Dr. Meisenheimer, I have one question for you. Since we asked the kids to list barriers to getting into IBAP, what are the barriers for your school and your staff and your administrators?
So I would say, well, we're trying to break down the barriers, obviously, but they do exist. And I feel like the biggest barrier is we probably don't do a good enough job of communicating with kids that they can be successful in this class, in the IB class that they choose. And so they're hesitant to try. And if they try, they will be successful. I don't have the data from this year, but 2 years ago, we only had 2 kids that weren't retained at semester that we had pushed on into a more rigorous schedule. So it works. We identify the kids that can do the work, but aren't willing to put themselves out there. And when we get them to try, then they're successful. And so I think that's probably the greatest barrier, at least Summit North, is we need to do a better job of communicating and encouraging kids. And this process does some of that, but we can do a better job of that.
I appreciate that. Thanks. I think it's a wonderful program. So just curious. Any other questions or comments regarding this item? Okay. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here tonight.
All right, thank you.
We actually need a motion for this item. We do not have a motion yet, so we need a motion for item 8.03, please.
Okay. I move that the board approve continuing the work with equal opportunity schools as presented.
We have a motion and a second for item 8.03 to continue EOS. Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We are moving on to item 8.04. This is where we're going to get into renewing contracts here for the upcoming school year. And so the first one here in item 8.04 is the administrative staff for the 2021-2022 school year. And so I think we are going to turn it over to Dr. Delsim.
Good evening, everyone. As we do each spring in March, we present to the board our annual renewals, and the first one that you have is the renewal of the administrative staff, and it's for the 21-22 school year.
So we'll take a motion on item 8.04, and then if anybody has any questions or comments for Dr. Delsim on this item, we can do that.
I move that the board approve to renew the administrative staff as submitted for the 2021-22 school year.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 8.04 for administrative staff for the upcoming school year. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Delsim? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of item 8.04, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 8.05, Dr. Dilson.
All right, thank you for that. And then the second item is the renewal that we present for our probationary teachers moving to the 21-22 school year as well.
So we will take a motion on item 8.05, and then if anybody has any questions.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve to renew the probationary teachers as submitted for the 2021 to 2022 school year.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 8.05. Are there any questions or comments? Board Member Campbell.
I just wonder for folks watching if it might be helpful to have a definition of probationary teachers because, you know, from my learning as a new board member, I know the definition now, but can you share that?
Yeah. So probationary teachers are those teachers who start their career, or certified staff who start their career up until their 5th year of teaching. You earn your tenure the first day you teach of your 6th year.
Great, thank you.
Board Member Doan.
So these are pretty much new teachers to the district. Do you have some kind of mentorship that they call on, or do they do that within their school?
We do, absolutely. So whether you are brand new, fresh out of school, or new to the Lee Summit School District, we have a beginning teacher program, and either Dr. Kephart or Dr. Daniel could speak well to that.
I just wanted to make sure we were doing something.
We do.
Yeah.
We take care of
Your
you.
first 2 years, you have you do have a mentor. Your first 2 years of your career.
Good. Thank you.
Other questions or comments regarding 8.05? I have one for you, and I didn't submit it ahead of time, and so I apologize. So if you have to email it to us, I totally understand.
We
So,
can stay tuned.
right,
All
because I'm going to ask for a data piece from you. What was our retention rate of probationary teachers this year?
I do not have that on
Right, I knew
hand,
that.
but I
So
will.
I'm asking if you wouldn't mind checking. I'd be
bet.
curious.
You
So,
bet. We'll get it to you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? That's my bad. I'm really sorry about that.
No worries, Board President. I'll get it.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of 8.05, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 8.06 is our new personnel request for the upcoming school year, and I believe that is Dr. Miller.
Thank you, President Murdoch. Before you is a recommendation from the superintendent's leadership team for approval for 17.64 new FTE for the upcoming school year. I would also like to point out that Dr. Buck has provided a memo on this particular item that really kind of nicely identifies the net impact to the budget due to some of the reorganization that's recently occurred. And we have a one-time offset of $140,000 from the Real World Learning Grant. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so we'll take a motion on 8.06, and then if anybody has any questions or comments related to our non-allocated or new personnel requests.
I move that the Board of Education approve the new personnel request for the 2021 through 22 school year as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second for item 8.06 for our new personnel requests. Are there any comments or questions for Dr. Miller regarding this particular item? Board Member Campbell?
I'd just like to highlight, this does include the 4 new career navigators, and that's really, to me, the kingpin of our real-world learning and taking this to the next level in all of our high schools. So really excited to see that, and also excited that that includes the Summit Ridge Academy as well. So excited to support that. Any
other comments or questions related to 8.06? Dr. Miller, I'd asked in the board packet about our banked positions that we have going into next year. So we have our one gifted banked position if enrollment increases, right? And I know that we have essentially the new identification process, right, that we're working on for gifted, which might increase enrollment in the gifted program. Then we have 5 other banked positions. Is there any limitation on what those positions could be used for if necessary?
No, I think the district has a lot of flexibility. We can look at needs that arise in the fall and make the best determination.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Board Member Fritchie?
Just wanted to make a point, in the notes under this item, it says that we do also see additional savings from the SLC administrative restructuring in the amount of $195,525. So I think our public should probably be aware of that we have done some restructuring and some saving of some money that way.
Yes, thank you for bringing that to light. Thank you.
I do believe Katie just sent that out as a memo through Messenger today.
She's ahead of the game, Okay, any other comments or questions on this particular item? Okay, all those in favor of item 8.06, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Miller. Item 8.07 is we do need to excuse Board Member Hedrick from physical attendance. So I would take a motion on item 8.07, though we do look forward, Dr. Hedrick, to seeing you soon.
I move to excuse Board Member Hedrick from physical attendance at tonight's meeting and allowing her to participate via speakerphone.
Motion and a second on item 8.07. Does anybody need to comment on this one? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Yep, sorry. Sorry. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously 6-0 with 1 abstention. We move on to item 9.01, which is our health services program evaluation. So we're going to have 2 presentations tonight. The first is our health services program, and I believe Terry Hansen is here to do that presentation.
The Health Services team educates the Lee Summit school community and provides services and resources to promote an optimal level of wellness. And this goes for both students and staff. Sometimes people forget, our staff members forget that we're there for them too. Giving you a little staffing structure, we've got 16 RNs that provide coverage for 24 health rooms. And then we also do emergency coverage for Summit Tech Academy and Hilltop. We have 5 LPNs that serve in a para or a one-to-one position with students that have medical needs. We've got 2 LPN float positions, which they have been heavily used this year. We've got 17 full-time and 1 part-time LPN health clerk positions, and we've got 13 health room clerks. To give you a little overview, it's kind of hard to compare this year's numbers to last year's, because you take a look at them and you notice a significant decrease in a lot of these numbers. But someone from our leadership team can probably tell you exactly how many days difference between this year and last year we had through the end of February. So just for health room visits, we've had a little over 16,000, and all of this is through February 28th. One of our biggest goals in health services is we're not there to send kids home. We believe that a healthy learner is going to learn a whole lot more, so we want these kids back in class. So our numbers did drop this year, but we do have a good reason for that. And then we sent over 14% home this year. You know, COVID covers, the symptoms for COVID covers every childhood illness that's out there, and people forgot that those still exist. Medications, we're still administering those, treatments, all those numbers are down. But what I'd like to point out is even though we had significant fewer days in the health room, our nurses have done management calls And what those are is basically our COVID tracing this year is pretty much what that entails. So they've done over 19,000 calls or visits with parents this year. So it gives you a total number that we have seen in the health room or managed. Luckily, we've only had 5 911 calls this year. I'm going to knock on wood as I say that. So the next one, when you look at, we don't have 24,000 students in our district. So when we talk about health conditions or health concerns, this is how many health concerns are out there, and many students have more than one. So you can look that most numbers are going up. We expect that from year to year. The one that probably sticks out to most of us is the mental health disorder numbers, how that is significantly increasing. So I kind of did some calculations, and for those of you that don't know me very well, math is not my strong point. But that's a 23% increase from last year. And when we look at this data, you have to realize this is all parent reported. This is what we get off of our student information forms that are filled out during enrollment. So that we have that many more parents saying that there's that many more mental health diagnoses out there, that's pretty significant. Here is those broke down because we do spend a lot of time, especially as we get up into middle and high school, on the mental health aspect. But we are seeing an increase in our elementaries too. So if you look at anxiety and the increase in numbers, it's up over 20%. Depressive disorder is 27% higher than last year. And post-traumatic stress is up almost 30%. So those are pretty significant things that we are looking at. And health services is really, we are taking part working with counselors, working with our 504 coordinators, our special education coordinators to bring this to the forefront. So then let's get to the elephant in the room. COVID-19, and I don't even know where to begin because at this time last year, this was pretty new. So March to May of 2020, all of us in the district, students, staff alike, learned how to do virtual meetings through Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams. You name it, we've learned how to use it. All of health services had to learn how to care for students virtually. And when you're used to a very hands-on approach with a student, that can be challenging. But we do know that when those students are there, that there are many that are not having needs that are being met. So we did a lot of checking in with those students. We had health clerks and LPNs and health rooms to get all together doing videos for students that were sent out in newsletters. I saw one that they did a hand washing, and she actually used paint to demonstrate. I didn't want to see how she got that off her hands afterwards, but I'm sure the hand washing was good for that. Working with our distribution center and purchasing, trying to find PPE for when everybody returned. And I have to tell you that Krista and Melissa Ross over in purchasing and distribution, they were my lifesaver, okay? We finally found some K95 masks, and lo and behold, when we started the new year, found out, those were taken off the approved list. So we started planning from the day one that we went virtual last year. We started planning for students to return in the fall or whenever they were able to return. We developed a health services pandemic planning committee because although I'd like to say that I'm the smartest person in the room, there is a lot of smart RNs on our team, and I brought them together so that we can all share data and use all of our experience. In July, we were lucky enough to welcome elementary students back to Summer Learning Institute. But then we realized we've got to learn how to contact trace and how to use our precaution rooms really fast, because I think we used them day one. We continued the search for PPE. August 2020, attempting to keep up with contact tracing during the beginning of fall sports. I tell you, I had a great district leadership team that really helped me out during that time. And so we were planning for students returning, trying to continue to procure that PPE. We continued working with district leaders, the Health Services Pandemic Team Planning Committee, so that everybody could have a safe return. In September and October, we welcomed back elementary students and quickly realized that one person couldn't handle contact tracing for a district this size. So we quickly got together the COVID boot camp. We had administrators and all the RNs take this. It was basically, I think, one administrator per building, and then each RN. And I tell you, you'll see at the end of all of this that my one silver lining that has really come out of COVID is how much that not just our RNs and our district leadership and our administration and buildings, but how the whole schools have gone together and really have worked as a team. Our IT department helped us out. Instead of me having to hand count every day, they developed our COVID hotline database so that I could just download it and send it right on to Jackson County Health Department each day. November was kind of a challenging month. We had students back for a short while. Had to learn how to open up a student testing center. Never in my life did I think that I would open a lab testing center in the schools, but we did that, and of course continued the contact tracing. We opened our student testing clinic on 12/2, and we started out doing it 3 days a week during the school day. We quickly realized with all the contact tracing that our RNs were doing that we weren't going to be able to have them out of the buildings that often. So we kind of revamped that in January. It's been a learn as you go type thing. January and February, we were ecstatic to get students back in the building. We continued the student testing clinic, but did have to change hours and days. So now, every Monday and Thursday that students are in school, then we have after school hours from 4:30 to 7:30. And I really do think a lot of parents have appreciated those later hours. To date, we have tested a total of 454 students, and the staff at Complete Health and Wellness has done 175 staff members. This last month, we began working on mass vaccination clinic plans for all district staff. And I'm very excited to announce that Saturday is our first staff clinic, and if I remember numbers correct, we have almost 750, I think, scheduled for Saturday, and then about that many scheduled for the following Thursday. So our RNs, our LPNs, and our health room clerks are going to be very busy on those days. Come on over. We'll be happy to give you your shot. But it did show that 596 staff members before we were even able to offer our survey had already had it. So that was really exciting to see that many people have had it. And I think Dr. Buck has put out there that by spring break time, at least 85% of our staff will have been vaccinated with at least one dose. We're continuing that contact tracing. And again, the silver lining that we found is the amazing teamwork that we have in this district. Updates on health services objectives for 2021 school year. I'll be really honest, most of these flew out the window. Continue updating the health services asthma care management and additional training of all health services staff, coaches, and teaching staff. This is going to be continued till next year. Due to COVID, we weren't even able to use nebulizers in the school buildings. So it was hard to do a whole lot of asthma training when we couldn't use all of the tools in our toolbox. Number 2, I think we nailed it. Review LSR7 infection control practices in health services to ensure that we are using best practice for cleaning health rooms, personal protection equipment, and infection control. I do think that we've got this one down. Number 3 is to begin district-wide instruction regarding opioid overdoses and the use of Narcan to all staff that has care of students. This will also have to be continued, but do feel like that is very important because we are seeing it at younger and younger ages. So somehow I put this slide in there, but we've really had to go with this year. The art of nursing defines what we do, often by the number of tasks and interventions performed. It's the science of nursing, however, that not only determines best practice, but also measures the results or outcomes of nursing interventions. But I have to tell you, there's an art to it, because if you are just looking at the numbers, you've missed half of what nursing is. And our health services staff is amazing. They make those kids feel so welcome in their health rooms. Here's our goals for next year. We're going to continue on the asthma care management. We're going to begin district-wide instructions on opioid overdoses and the use of Narcan for all staff that has care of students. And we're going to continue to update best practices in communicable disease prevention, because you might have noticed it changes kind of daily. So that is going to be our health services goals for next year. So here's just a few of the pictures of stuff that we've been dealing with this year. Any questions?
First, thank you. Just thank you. To other board members, if you have any comments or questions, we will do those right now. Board Member Fritchie.
Yeah, that's the first words out of my mouth. Thank you. To each and every one of our health services staff for the multitude of ways that you all have helped us and served us in this very, very challenging year. You guys do amazing work. You're flexible. You're supportive. Go above and beyond. I don't think there are enough accolades for you all this year, but Terry Hansen, we've known each other for a long, long time, since you worked at Pleasantly Middle School. And you have been amazing this year. You have gone way above and beyond, and I just have a special thank you for your leadership and for everything you've done for LSR7 this year. Thank you. Thank you.
Board Member Campbell.
I just want to say thank you as well. A couple of times this year I've used the term healthcare heroes, and that's just what you all are. So I've appreciated so much your guidance, your expertise, your leadership. It's been so helpful to me as a board member in many of the discussions that we've had in our meetings. So just thank you, and you truly are a hero to our students, to our community, and appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Board Member Hedrick.
Yes, I also want to say thank you. But the other thing I found really pretty interesting in the report was the number of times that was mentioned that how much new learning had taken place by our staff, and in terms of being flexible and having to deal with everything. So I do think that's really important too, for how positive and how flexible that whole department has been in dealing with this last year. So I appreciate that and wanted to point that out, because we're all lifelong learners in education.
Yes, we are.
Any other comments or questions? Board Member Allen.
Just quickly, thank you. Echo, right? Thank you so much, and your entire team. What are some things that you've learned this year that you will carry on into the next few years, or what have you? Efficiency, scale?
I have learned that we can do a lot with less, because it's hard to get staff in, new staff in, when you're in the middle of a pandemic. People are kind of scared of the school system when they think about all the wonderful kids that we have running around, but some call them germ factories. So we have learned to be very flexible. I think that has been the number one part of it. I also think that this year that will go forth is really learning not just what we can do, but what the district can do when we work together. And I think that teamwork part, I hope that it continues past the pandemic, because that's just such an important part of a student's growth during the school years.
Let me follow up with that, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. You don't have a choice now, huh? Or you could just. Coordination outside of the district, I mean, did you work closely with the city, closely with the county health department naturally? I mean, were there some things there that we've been able to bridge and relationships built that obviously are
Definitely.
unique and different maybe in a LSR7 that maybe not other school districts have? I mean, an approach that maybe is unique to you or Dr. Buck or any of this team out here?
Well, I can't take all the credit for
Don't
everything.
take
because it
1,000%.
was
Go
definitely
ahead.
a team thing. But our relationship with Jackson County Health Department has grown exponentially. I'm on first name basis with the epidemiology specialist that's there. We joke back and forth, and I've tried to stump them, and they keep coming back with answers each time. We have new questions every day that I haven't dealt with yet this year. So it's nice to have that. I also am working more with the medical community, and I think bringing in those physicians to work as a group together has brought them and given some great rapport to continue for the future. We already have a great health advisory board that isn't going to get to meet this year, but that community piece is just going to continue to grow. We've worked with Lee Summit Medical Center, we've worked with Truman Medical Center, and kind of nice to get to know those folks by first name and have a conversation with them.
Thank you. The future's bright. I got to tell you, it's the right direction. And I mentioned that in an email the other day. And that's a large part. You're a large part of it, as is this entire team in here and across this district. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions regarding this item? Terry, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and thank you for being here tonight. Item 9.02 is our Lee Summit High School project update, which I believe J.E. Dunn is here to give us tonight. And like I said, I was there, and it is cool to see some of the stuff getting underway. So if you could go ahead and finish it in the next couple of months, we would appreciate it.
Okay, well, I've
All
got
right.
a plan here to show you how we might be able to do that. So, good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Buck. Good to see you all tonight. My name is Lee Moore. I'm here on behalf of J.E. Dunn to give a quick update on the high school. So, we'll start out. This should look familiar. This is our overall phasing plan. What you'll see highlighted or kind of bolded out are the two phases that we're getting ready to kick off. The first addition phase, which is in yellow, and then our first renovation phase, which is in green. So currently, and we have a picture here of what we're currently doing. Not a lot of great pictures here of underground utilities, which is what we're doing right now and wrapping that up. We're about 90% complete with that. But the exciting news is that come the first spring break, we're going to start the renovation phase 1. Our team's been working on pre-planning, just going through the final details, making sure that we've got a head start on this thing. And then the following week, the first full week of April, we'll be starting the building addition phase. And the site utilities has been a precursor to that work. This just shows kind of a 3D view looking east from the west parking lot of that first addition phase that we'll be working on. And then as far as what's up ahead, so obviously starting the addition phase and then the renovation phase. Looking ahead to the next time we're going to come see you with an update in June. Hopefully by then we'll be going vertical on the addition, so you'll see structural steel. So from now till then, we'll be working on underground, slab on grade, footings, that sort of thing on the addition. And then the phase 1A renovation, by June we should be full into finishes and getting ready to put a bow on that for school coming up that August. And then also in June we'll be just starting phase 1B renovation, which if I go back to that, that'll be the pink area. That's the gymnasium, PAC, cafeteria, kitchen, that sort of thing will be the summer work. So we'll definitely have a lot better pictures to show you in June, but we're just getting started. So with that, that's all I've got. If anyone has any questions.
Board Member Allen.
Thank you. What is the final date, completion date? Did you already say that in this and I missed it?
Did
I
not
mean,
give that update. That'll be in August of 2023.
August 2023. Okay, thank you.
Not next month. I mean,
You said 2 months or 2
well, 2
years?
months, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm
I mean, the time will fly.
trying to give
and
you a
so-
little extra wiggle room there to get it done.
Time will fly. Good. Thank you. That's quick, really, in
Yeah,
the total
no,
scheme of things.
It's awesome. Board Member Fritchie.
Yes, I'm looking at the map on slide, the overall phasing plan, and I'm seeing the green renovation phase 1A that you're going to get started on. I believe that's currently building A, the library area, is that correct? That area that's in green?
I think that's more science classrooms. The library, I think, is a little bit over to the left. Kyle, am I right? That's the,
Well, science wing's the purple.
Yeah, the larger green area that you see is actually the exterior courtyard.
Oh, that's the courtyard, okay.
And then the library would be just south of that.
Right, the lighter blue or purple.
We're,
Okay.
in program description, we're renovating the business department and half of the science department.
Okay.
Something about putting chemistry labs and mobile classrooms wasn't going to work, so.
I was just concerned because at first I thought that was the library. I was like, okay, where do they go to the library? Okay. Anyway, well, you'll probably have the new library created and be able to move that before you renovate the rest, right?
that is part of our phasing. So the new
Okay.
library will be in the second phase of the addition.
Okay,
So that's the, just north of the yellow part there. So that'll be, once we finish the second phase of the addition, then that spring of 2023, we'll move in and take over that library and redo that area because we'll be able to have moved out of there.
very good. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions on Lee Summit High School? And you are under budget, right?
sir.
There we go. Feel like that's a good thing to get to say, so. All right, thank you very much, Lee.
Thank
We
you all.
appreciate it. Thanks for being here. All right, we are going to move on to our written reports. This is items 10.01 through 10.03. We have our guidance and counseling, we have our purchasing and distribution, and we have our bond budget update report, which we are getting monthly. So if anybody has any comments on the written reports, we can do that right now. Board Member Fritchie.
Yes, I have some comments and questions about 10.01 and 02. First of all, 10.01 guidance and counseling program evaluation. First of all, thanks to each of our counselors in every building at every level for all you've done to stay in touch with our students throughout this very difficult year. And I know that couldn't have been easy, and we really do appreciate all of our counselors. Second, I have a question about the report. It says under opportunities for improvement, the Lee Summit R7 School Counselors 5-year plan will sunset at the end of 2019-2020 school year. And then under the upcoming goals and action steps, it says the department will implement and can communicate a new 5-year strategic plan aligned to state and district goals. So my question is, has your 5-year strategic plan been developed and is it currently in place this year?
Thank you for the question. Yes, so February of last year, right before we went into closure, we met with Dr. Sherry Sevier of the Missouri School Counseling Association. She guided our steering team to create the new strategic plan, which we are implementing right now, obviously with some barriers in place, but we are implementing, and we may have to shift some of the things that we highlighted for this year into next year.
Okay, yeah, I was just a little unclear on that, whether it had started implementation, if you'd actually developed and started it yet. So it's good to
Yes.
hear that you all have started that. Thank you, Dr. Hill.
Thank you.
If anybody doesn't have any other
No, go ahead
questions for Dr.
10.02,
Hill.
that's fine.
Okay, I'll go to 10.02, purchasing and distribution. For Krista Battaglia, I don't know that I have a question, Krista, but I just wanted to say for you and your purchasing department and distribution staff, you guys continue to amaze me. This report was just crazy impressive. About 3 years ago, I was able to come over and visit with you all over there at Purchasing and Distribution, and I was impressed then. But the savings that you provide to the school district through your efforts, to me, is very noteworthy. Here's just an example that I pulled from your report. I just want people to be aware of this. It says the district has received over $1 million in surplus sales from the Gov Deals since the implementation of it in 2009. That is really amazing. In FY20, the district earned, just in fiscal year 20, the district earned $89,900 in commissions from beverage and vending machines. Here's another important number. Staff reviewed 316 contracts and agreements this past year for the Board of Education to approve. Now, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I realize that we have to approve a lot of, read a lot and approve a lot, but that is just, to put a number on it, that's amazing. From food deliveries to providing that PPE that Terry Hansen was talking about wherever it's needed, from putting out all those RFPs to vetting speaker contracts. You guys are truly behind the scenes helping to make everything work day in and day out. No question about it. So happy National Purchasing Month, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Board Member Fritchie. Any other comments or questions on the written reports? Okay, Dr. Buck has one last item here before we go to item 11, and it's something that the board, we talked about here at our last work session, so he'll introduce that.
Since we have everyone on camera too, I just wanted to take a moment. I know it's been several weeks and everyone knows now, but this building has a name on it, and it's Tony Stansberry. And he did pass away recently, has a public service this Saturday, actually, here in the county in the afternoon. Tony meant a lot. We just talked a lot about Team Lee Summit. He created it. We actually had with Team Lee Summit, we brought Paul Schrout, who helped bring life to it with Tony and helped celebrate. We all had apple pie and told some stories about Tony. So just want to give condolences to everyone who was close to him, not just in this district, not just in Grandview School District, but I can tell you that I've had numerous people at DESE reach out who are dear friends of his from his time at DESE after he left here and retired in 2006. So I'm sorry for your loss, everyone, and I hope everyone has a chance to remember Tony and your way. And if you're able to go to the services this Saturday, I'm sure his family would appreciate that.
Okay. We are going to move on to item 11.01, which is our motion to go into closed session. So I would take that motion at this time. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
If the board would hit F5, there's a wrong date in there. And so if you correct that to F5, you'll have the right motion.
Okay, so we will still take a motion here on 11.01 for the closed session.
Getting there. I move to conduct a closed session, including any record or vote immediately following the regular session on Thursday, March 18th, 2021 at 301 Northeast Tudor Road, Lee Summit, Missouri, 64086 for consideration of the following matters in 610.021 RSMO, legal issues, real estate, personnel issues, and student issues.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
We probably need to read the subsections.
Yeah, so when you do the motion, could you amend your motion to read the subsections? So
Yes,
legal issues, subsection 1, real estate 2, and
Thank you. I amend the motion in the following ways to include legal issues subset 1, real estate subset 2, personnel issues subset 3 and 13, and student issues subset 6 and 14. Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second to move into closed session. We will do a roll call vote, Ms. Hismert. Is that correct for this with Dr. Hedrick? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Board Member Doan?
Aye.
Vice President Fritchie?
Aye.
Board Member Campbell? Aye. Board Member Allen?
Aye.
Board Member Marshall?
Aye.
President Murdoch?
Aye.
And Dr. Hedrick will abstain.
Abstain, yes.
Okay, motion carries, and we are now in closed session. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy some March Madness.